Hello, Coach Magazine Global audience. We are here with our 17th guest, Ingela Johansson from Sweden today. She's an artist, author of Creative Flow, and the visionary behind Zenart, a platform where she shares methods and tools for gaining personal insights into our thought processes, desires, dreams, emotions, and creative aspirations with her purpose to guide self discovery through the transformative force of creative meditation. Driven by intuitive curiosity, Ingela brings a wealth of experience, having lived and worked in diverse cultures, including Southeast Asia. She has a broad and open mindset. Over 3 decades, Ingela has imparted her creative wisdom in 9 countries. During this discussion, she will unravel the importance of discovering our own power within emotions, understand how this transformative process extends to every facet of our lives, and how through this powerful journey we can all reconnect with our inner power. For her, emotions play a pivotal role in every decision we make. She will also delve into the research presented in Permission to Feel by Dr. Mark Brackett, illustrating its potential impact on both our personal and professional lives. Welcome, Ingela. Thanks for being here with us today. How are you?
Wow, I'm very well. Thank you, Seda, for this beautiful presentation.
I see you coming from very international background. You lived in many different countries. So, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience? How you become an artist? How your life, encrossed with these emotions and blending them together with your art?
Wow. Yes. Well, I mean, art has always been a very important part of my life, even, from childhood. So, and I also realized that I used art to protect myself in many ways throughout childhood. But I mean, that is something that I'm conscious of today, that naturally I wasn't, but I was using both art and poetry a lot as a child growing up. And then I worked for a long time in, with graphic design, in advertising. I actually went to study graphic design in London, where I believe you are now. And it was later in life that I said, no, it's time to really dare to become an artist. The try the to fulfill the purpose and live the dream of actually working with art. But that took me a long time.
Yes. So our audience doesn't know you well. So I got some webinar from you. It was moving. Therefore, I met you, and I wanted to introduce you everybody in our network. So there are some deep incidents happened in your life. One is your husband's passing in 2016, and how did this experience shape your perspective on life and emotions, and how this incident led to your mission of helping others find their own power through their emotions?
Yes, wow, big question. Okay, well, let's just say that in 2006, I moved to Southeast Asia with my 2 children, and we lived first in Singapore and then in Malaysia. And through that time, I was exhibiting and working both in Southeast Asia and Australia, a lot of time in China, Bali. And wow, those were amazing learnings into the world of creativity and art. But as you said, in 2016, my ex husband, my children's father, passed away. And it was sudden, but maybe it always feels sudden. But it's just that none of my children had the possibility to say goodbye to him, not even on the phone. And my son and him, they had like a very heated argument the last time they spoke. So of course this situation, it spiraled, we all had, grief, of course, the whole family. But then for my son, his depression became really deep. And in the midst of everything, I also realized that the husband I was with at the time, I could no longer stay with in terms of how the situation became with my children. So it spiraled into a divorce and moving back home to Sweden with the children. But yeah, it took some time though, and there was a lot to realize in between this.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
huge. And
Yes.
in any way, when we have this kind of incidents, this kind of griefs, this kind of loss or
Yeah.
breakups, anything that happens to us connects us more with our clients, with our friends, with others who's going through also this kind of, you know, breakups, losses, griefs. And it's somebody who doesn't go through this kind of processes cannot connect with others.
Yeah. But I think we all do, though, in one way
Yes.
or another. I mean, none of us will escape this, right, in life. But
Some
I
of them
think,
maybe put it under the rug.
yeah, yes. But as I was then, we had just quite recently moved to Malaysia and I was far out in the countryside. So I didn't have so many, close friends and family present. And I was also in a different time zone, like from my old friends back home. So I really turned a lot to start to listen inwards because of this, I think. Because had I been in Sweden, I probably would have, as you said, shared more with people close to me. But I turned inwards. I started to meditate daily and I really dive deep into meditating and then starting to create straight after meditation because there's an alchemy between meditation and creativity, how it can connect us to our, to our soul, to our heart, and also to our intuition. And that's where I started to listen and I started to write down the reflections that I was having and really starting to try to understand myself, what has happened, the patterns that were going on. And I would say I learned a lot about transformation not being this, big. Sure, it started with this big thing happening, but then to really start to uncover a lot of your own things, for me, it took years. So it was not a quick process.
Yes. I didn't lost that close. Well, my father was the closest person I've
Mm,
lost.
yeah.
It's been already 11 years. I cannot believe it. But before that, I could not relate to those who lost
Mm,
somebody very close. I understand that, or some other incidents happened, some other lives, and I was thinking myself I was doing empathy, but then if the same thing happened to me, I was like, I would not doing any empathy at those moments that I thought I was doing. It was not even close to empathy. Seriously, if you
wow.
don't go through
Yeah.
the same process, yeah, of course it's different for every person, but you can just relate, you can connect, you can reflect more, you can understand more. It is crazy.
That's a very important point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. I think you're right. When my mother passed away, it took me 6 months before I could even start to feel it.
Oof,
Yeah. I
yeah,
remember that, and that's yeah, an even longer time ago. It's 20 years now since she passed. So yeah, yeah.
yeah. So my second question, let's cheer it up. About
Yes.
your book. Create to Flow was first published in 2020, which is the year of pandemic. What is this
Mm,
inspiration behind your book and how your experiences shaped the message you wanted to share?
yes. So as I was mentioning, this process of meditating and creating straight after and reflecting can be used to start to understand yourself and go through that personal self discovery with creativity. But it can also be very useful if you want to tap into flow or you want to work with more focus. Because as we meditate, of course, we become more centered into into ourselves. And then if we start to move straight into creativity with that, grounded sense from ourselves, we can really start to work with what is most important. And I was doing this illustration and I was having a really hard time figuring out the right expression. It's supposed to be having a lot of emotions and I was just not getting it. But after meditating, it flowed to me in less than 5 minutes. And I was like, wow, I've been sitting here the whole day trying to do it. Nothing worked. And then 5 minutes and I'm done. And I didn't even have to think about it twice when I looked at it. I was just so sure that this was exactly it. And I had this huge exhibition in Singapore. And I remember because I had like 1 week where I could stay in my creative bubble. And it was crazy how much I achieved that 1 week. So looking back at it, it was not really even possible. But that is what happens when you're in flow, because you're in like your peak potential zone, right? And it's also the only time when all your 5 positive hormones, they actually come into your body at the same time. And anyone that has ever experienced flow, I mean, it can come up, of course, if you're doing sports, can come up if you're doing a presentation like we're doing today, or art or whatever. If you've experienced, you always are, dreaming about going back to that place. So this book that I created, it's filled with these exercises to help you both go into the creative self-discovery of understanding yourself, but also exercises aimed for you to move into flow. So that's why the book is called Create to Flow.
Great. So, your artistic process involves working with a theme each year. Could you share more about how colors and emotions became your painting theme for 2021 after reading Permission to Feel by Dr. Mark Brackett?
Yes. So after going through this divorce, I also realized that it's important to really change my patterns. So I also went into, apart from creative meditation, I did a lot of therapy as well. And I was talking a lot to friends. And I have a friend who's a researcher, and he talked a lot about how this book was groundbreaking in working with, or how we can turn our emotions into tools to help us in our daily lives. And I was spending, because that's what I've done since coming back to Sweden, is spending time in nature each summer. Spending time in nature alone and creating. So I brought this book with me to this small cabin by the water. And I started to dive into the book, but also creating paintings around it and working with creative meditation at the same time to really not only read the book, but try to start to figure out how could I actually understand my emotions so that they could become tools that I could use. So that's how colors and emotions became my theme for the next big exhibition that I had. And I also hosted workshops and did talks about decision making, because when you think about it, emotions really play a part in everything we do. It plays a part in how we make decisions, how we build our relationships, what we learn, what we can remember. And of course, it influences our health, not only our physical, but also our mental health. And in turn, that also influences our productivity and how efficient we can be. So, overall, it really plays a role in every single part of our lives. So, it does make sense to pay some attention to our emotions. Because when you think about it, you usually always remember how someone made you feel, right?
Yeah, well, it
Yeah.
crossed my mind when you're talking about those people who suppress their emotions, who, froze their emotions. Is there a way in your creative process for those kind of people to bring back alive those emotions?
Yeah, those kind of people used to be one here. I've been quite good at doing that. Thank you. But,
Okay.
and not, I mean, not really in a conscious way. I find that so interesting as well. I mean, I wasn't really conscious about it, which is
Okay.
also interesting because I always been painting as well. So that's interesting. But I think it's one good thing that you can practice is asking yourself the question, how do I feel? And actually name the feeling. And try to name more than, like the big ones, like angry, happy, Really try to look up what are all the words in the English language for feelings and where am I? you know. And sit with a feeling because I was reading somewhere, I can't remember which book, but a feeling only lasts for 2 to 3 seconds. And after reading that, I was like, wow, then it might be possible to even feel the, let's say, the more harder ones to feel. Because what I realized today is it shifts everything when you start to, be able to not only paint your emotions, but also talk about them to the people, close to you that matter to you. And you need to also, well, I needed to learn to speak up about when my feelings were hurt or when someone had actually crossed a boundary, and I needed to learn how to speak those words. And then you start to understand that when you laugh, the laugh comes from deep within, like from you can feel it in your whole body, and you can definitely feel it from your stomach. So I would say that you feel the emotions deeper, if that makes sense. At least this is how I have experienced it from being a person that's been quite good at not daring to feel all my feelings, I would say, to starting to dare to feel all my feelings. I'm probably not 100% there yet. Don't know if I ever will be, but it's a journey of transformation.
Yes, it's a
Yeah.
process and progress.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
process.
progress for me. And when I hear it's a progress. But I heard something about the actions changes in 2 seconds, the emotions changes like 1 2 minutes, and the thoughts changes in 1 hour. It's
Mm,
something like that. I
yeah.
remember.
Yeah. But sometimes, because, I mean, if you get scared of something, your thought will actually change in seconds as well. So it's like,
Yeah, with the reptile brain, of course.
yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, quite often. And that is, thoughts are interesting because one of the things that I discovered through doing this process of writing and creating almost daily when I was going through this big change was that my inner thoughts were not always, how shall we say, kind to myself, nor were they, yeah, I wasn't really fair to myself the whole time. So that was quite interesting to start to see and to start to shift that.
Yeah,
And
so when you look at your journey, because you slow down and understand your journey, it
Mm.
helps you to understand others better in this way
Oh,
of
yes.
discovering themselves.
Yes, yes. Because I think I'm a strong believer that there is one person you can change, and it's yourself. I mean, 100% sure about that. Stop
Yeah.
trying to change anyone else in my life. Yeah.
It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. No.
If they don't want to change, no one can change anyone.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So my next question, in 2023, you began to deeply uncover what it means to find your own power through your emotions. Could you share some insights into this journey, how it aligns with creative meditation and your personal experience and all these workshops you're doing right now?
Yeah, sure. I can say that one big thing is really about self trust. That I started to discover that I could change anything about myself that I wanted to change if I did one at the time. That's how I work. It's really you learn through this process how I can implement a change. So for instance, I now train a few mornings a week. And today it's automated, so I don't no longer have to think about this because I've been doing it for years now. So it just happens. And for everything you automate, it takes up less, how should I say, brain space. So it gives you more time to focus on the things that you actually need to work on, which I also find interesting. And then you start to realize that you can trust yourself. Like in every small change you make, the trust level grows because you really have to start to look at the promises you make to yourself as important as the promises you make to, anyone else in your life at work or at home.
Yes.
So I think self-trust, and I've seen this not only in myself, but in students as well. They talk a lot about self-trust and how that also, it makes it easier to make decisions, makes it easier to show up as your best self. And I think it kind of makes life more interesting because slowly you start to dare to do more new things as well, to really start to show up as your full self. And I think if I look back maybe 15 years, I think that I would say that my personal me would be not 100% the same as my private self. But when you start to live with opening up to your emotions and use them as tools, I would say that you become the same person at home or at work. And that is a major shift in how to find your own power.
Yes. Yeah. And it also brings joy, brings aliveness. Everything you
Yes.
do, you create, you see yourself creating new things when you allow yourself. You live in all these thoughts, automatic things behind your brain process,
Yeah.
and you have this all space for yourself. It's amazing how things happen from there.
Yeah. And quite amazing things happen. So, like, I think it was last summer, I created a few portraits in the lake house. And at an exhibition later, there was this family coming up saying that I painted their daughter when she was around 20 something. I never met them before, never met their daughter. but they bought the painting because they said it had the exact sense of her when she was walking home in a summer evening. I was like, wow. And this actually happened now 3 times. And I was like, oh my gosh. I
Goosebumps.
don't I don't know how. Please don't ask me to explain how this works. I have no idea.
That gives me goosebumps
Yeah.
too.
But I'm so happy, that these people found these paintings. That's also quite interesting, right?
Yeah,
Not only
you.
that,
You
you know,
create
the word.
something, put there, and some other people find their own creative thing inside of your paint. And absolutely beautiful painting behind you right now. I'm saying, I love all of your paintings. I am
Thank you.
encouraging people to see your Instagram account, your LinkedIn, and find your website, zenart.com. Yeah, we would like to emphasize on that. And I would like to take a break in front of these, in the middle of these questions, um, to subscribe to our channel, because we are doing this out of love, out of volunteering, and for us to, if you would like us to continue do this kind of beautiful conversations, these beautiful guests, 5 o'clock tea talks, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share with your network, and also if you would like to write an article for our magazine, please DM us from our Instagram or LinkedIn accounts. You can write under the videos also. Just try to reach us and support us. Okay, my next question. I've listened to your radio show with
Mhm.
Dr. Annette, and I loved how you described abundance, and also you
Mm.
mentioned the emotions are behind every decisions we make, as we are talking since the beginning. Can you elaborate on why you believe discovering one's power through emotions is transformative in every aspect of life?
Yeah, well, I can try. For me, it was like, you remember you hear this saying, like, how you do one thing is how you do everything? It became very obvious to me because I had done this transformative creative meditation. I remember exactly when I did it, where I was, where I was sitting in the harbor. And it's just that one of the most important paintings in my life. And when I looked at the painting, I noticed that I've used cheap copy paper. And this, to me, started to make me think, because it's not, it was separate from the art I was selling. I was doing this only for me. And at that point, this was before moving back to Sweden, I was making like all the decisions that had nothing to do with my children, my spouse, or, anyone else, just for me. I picked the cheapest or, you know, worst option when it was just for me. And I know it's just paper, but it kind of, flipped, because then I started to think about this. And I had a friend asking me, like, when you travel on your own, why do you always go to a cheaper hotel if you're alone? And there it came again. Well, it was just me. So this is like, wow, I started to realize like how I was valuing myself. So again, it really doesn't have anything to do with money, but again, it has, because it's about the value I put on things that were for me. So that's one of those like realizations.
It's profound. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
like my audience to hear it seriously, because, like, I don't know how what's the percentage, but most of the people are like this. Most of us don't put us ourselves at the top of the list. We are at the, sometimes the women are at the end. They put themselves at the end. They
yeah,
put first children, husband, mother,
yeah,
father, friends,
yeah,
the things, the chores, everything, but
yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
And I don't know. I'm also doing these workshops about self worth, and
yeah,
I'm doing it out of serious passion that I want all women would like themselves to find that they are the worthy of all. If they are not exist, nothing else for them. And they even say in the flights, put the oxygen mask to you
yeah,
first, and
yeah,
then you can help
yeah,
your children, your
yeah,
others.
yeah.
And this is
Uh,
very important. It's not about money, seriously. It's about when you reflect on it, when you manifest that you are worthy, you are,
Yeah.
um, you can travel on the first class train, you can travel on a first class plane, or you can give yourself this moment of enjoying your fancy coffee in a fancy
Yeah.
coffee shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're selfish or you're doing this out of arrogance. It's just you are worth to live. You have all the rights to have this kind of joys in your life for yourself, not just for
Yeah.
others.
No, exactly. And I mean, I had been manifesting a lot and not realizing how these things actually correlated to each other. And I wasn't aware of that this was what I was doing. So when I became aware, I shifted it. I started to shift it. And trust me, people around me started to notice because I heard a lot about, like, oh, you're not being so nice anymore. And I saw that as a very positive sign, honestly, because I knew I was just starting to gain some self worth. So I thought, okay, well,
Yes,
I'm in the right direction then. But I mean, it's, I would say yes, it's a lot of women, but it can also be men sometimes. I
yes,
think
yes,
it's, yeah, yeah. It's,
yes, absolutely.
but I think it's so interesting because we have like habits and tools for almost every single thing in our lives today. And it's like coaching that you're working with, which is a beautiful tool that we all need. But I also feel that we need to be able to get everything out of a good coaching session if we first check in with connecting to ourselves. It's also very important to start to, learn from these coaching sessions as well, to have the time to reflect on them. And I think we need some check in time with ourselves as well,
Yes, and
alongside.
magnates, same kind of people, same processes, who've been gone through the same processes. Like if I don't give myself value, worth, the amount of value that I have, that reflects on people, and
Oh, yeah.
they treat you accordingly. They treat you
Yeah.
bad. They treat you, as you said, they
Yeah.
they are using, and if when you stop making them use you, they call you, oh, you're not nice anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But then you shift it, that you
Yeah.
find your value and you act on it, and people are like, something changed
Yeah.
in her.
Yeah.
She's worthy. Then they
Yes.
act accordingly also.
Yeah. A good friend of mine called Avi Livran, he told me that, Ingela, boundaries is kindness. And I believe
Yes,
that to be true. Yeah.
yes. And Brené Brown also says,
Yeah.
clear is kind, unclear is unkind. This
Yes.
is
Yes.
always
That's
the
very good.
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. But then again, we're only human as well. So we're not always clear. We're not, always, we have to allow for some, we're still human, growing, learning.
Yes. Yes, sure.
Yeah. We can only do our best. Yeah.
So for today, my last question. Please tell us about your exhibitions, your creative journey, about some of your paintings and how they make you feel free of fears and stress, and also maybe some of your clients' experiences that strike your attention.
Yes. I do believe that, how we feel when we enter the studio actually shows up in the paintings. So I have a ritual before I go into my studio so that I'm present with myself. I think that is probably the most important part of my painting process. And it's still the meditation before, and, making myself connected to myself before I paint. And I try to think as little as possible, just be in that flow, in that feeling, and paint. And even if I do use a theme, it's quite broad so that I can still, be in that emotion. And I'm so happy when it happens that I can create these paintings that were meant for someone. That is, it's quite hard to describe it, but it's an incredible feeling yeah, when that happens. And I recently had an exhibition in Stockholm, a big one at a new gallery, and there were a few clients that could, when we talk about emotions again, one of them was crying because one painting was sold that she had seen before she could get from work and come to the gallery. So she was crying in a taxi trying to get there in time. She came, it was already sold, and then she found out that there was another painting meant for her because she found a symbol in that painting. And then she just became immensely happy. So it's like, I think art is, it is, very connected to our emotions. And it's a painting, one painting belongs somewhere for, a family or for a person. And it's quite interesting how it happens. So that would probably be my next adventure, is trying to figure out how that happens. Yeah. So in May, I will be going back to the same gallery. It's in the old city in Stockholm. So I'll be painting outside as well, because there's a lot of space there in the street. So we will have live music and painting, and yeah, it will
Wow.
be amazing. And
Wow.
I'm
Just open to
building
everybody. I would like to come and see that.
yeah. Yes, yes. I mean, a lot of people visit the old city in Stockholm when they come. So hopefully, yeah, we will have visitors from all over. But I mean, I am also building more. I have a website for the art, but I'm going to build a more of an online shop as well for people. So it's easier to buy from, yeah, when you're not
Yes.
in Sweden. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. And then for anyone that wants to take the creative meditation course, it's online and it's possible to take it from anywhere. And it's a
Yes.
3-month journey.
3 months. Yes.
Mm,
Wow. Yeah, I would like to try that out. I believe it
yeah.
will bring so much insightful explorations to myself.
Yes.
I'm not a very good artist, I believe. I can, yeah, I can do something, but
Yeah.
not like the ones behind you.
Well, it has nothing to do about, what it looks like. It has to do about if your intuition speaks through your picture and what it tells you. That's, what it's all about.
I'm curious about that. Seriously, I will
Yeah.
try that out
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
soon. And is there a new group coming out, or is it only goes month starts this month, or does it always when
No, no,
you
you
can
can
do it
start
whenever you
at
want?
okay, you can start anytime you want, and once a month I'll catch up with the students, and there's a weekly, email from me as well. And yeah, once a month we'll meet like on Zoom or yeah.
Okay.
And then of course you have all your exercises to do in between.
Okay. Thank you so
Self-paced.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Ingela, for this insightful conversation. I encourage our audience to check your artwork and workshops from your website, zenart.info. And if you're in Sweden, close to Karlstad, you can join her courses physically also. Would you like to add anything else? One last message for our audience?
Wow. Well, I think really just tap into the beauty of creativity. And it can be any creativity from, music, movies, dancing, poetry, art, because it makes you feel alive. So,
It does.
yeah.
Oh,
And thank you, Seda, for this conversation.
oh, thank you, Ingela. Thank you so much to meet us. It was wonderful to have your workshop in our Women Inside. And I again encourage our audience to subscribe to our channel and hit like, comment, share our videos with your network. Let's flourish from where we are together with our audience. We are so glad to meet you every twice in a month. And let's meet in another 5 o'clock tea talk next time with another guest. Thank you. See you. Bye.
Thank you.